And so I just got to hope and pray that it's a beautiful day on Tuesday, July 16th.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be hoping with you, and we know that Rex and the guys at Attica Raceway Park will do everything they can to make it happen. I believe we saw proof of that 2 years ago.
Yep.
When they worked the track and made an awesome
Mm-hmm.
event.
They were pumping water. Yep. Pork chop, they call him, that does the track prep, was pumping water out the day before out of turn 3, pumping massive amounts of water out. Yeah. And got it in, did a great job. And then, I believe it was last year again, right? Like right at 3:00, we got a little bit of a rainstorm and passed through. But it was, big one just missed us on both sides. So we got really lucky there. Yeah, the whole crew there, they know what they're doing. And one thing about Attica, I mean, the pit area is all stone and gravel. There's not an issue with parking any rigs in the pits. And of course, the racetrack's usually the least of the worry. They can, if they know rain's coming, they can pack it pretty hard and get it sealed up where the water runs off. And even parking, there's lots of gravel and asphalt parking on the grounds, and there's a field across that they've actually put drainage pipe in, and it drains pretty well up the streets, the old school. So plenty of places to park. So and the reason I say all that is because I don't want people to get scared if we do get rain during the day that think it's going to be washed out. It's going to take a lot to wash it out. Put it that way.
I have a little bit of a off the wall question for you, Brad. So the guy that I go to the races with in Attica, it's almost once a week at least. And then at the bigger shows like the All-Star shows and your show, you'll have multiple people come up to him and say, "Hey, Brad, so are you aware that you have a doppelganger that goes to Attica every week?"
No, I'm not aware of that.
We always joke around and say that he's going to start signing stuff for you, but
there you go. When I get busy on race day, he can help out with some of that stuff maybe.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to arrange for you two to meet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's we need to keep a running total of how many times he gets called Brad every year, but it would be a lot.
I'll be darned. I was gonna say that's funny that he's there and people.
And it'll even happen when you're at the track. Like you could be down signing autographs or selling shirts, and people will come up to him in the stands and be like, "Hey, Brad, can I buy you a drink or anything?" And so,
wow. Okay.
But just a little interesting, I think.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I have to tell you that I spent most of my life in Georgia, and the Brad Doty Classic was an event that I was a sprint car. I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I was a sprint car fan trapped in late model country, and the Brad Doty Classic was a race that I was aware of for many years before I met a woman from Ohio and got married, and she brought me home to sprint car country.
Wow. So how did what made you aware of it, I guess? And the reason I asked, that's the promoter side of me. We always debate on, where to spend advertising money and how to get the word out. And Rex and the track has, done a great job in Northwestern Ohio. We have lots of radio stations and stuff, and many of them are country stations. And so you guys being from Ohio, you're younger, but I'm not sure if you're WONE 97.5 out of Akron is a classic rock station that we may try to do some advertising on, this year, and it'd be interesting to see how that works. You never know for sure if it helps, because you don't ask everybody comes through the gate, how'd you hear about it? But I am curious, you being from Georgia, how you were aware of it.
So I followed the sprint cars from the time I was in middle school, probably in the 80s. So I reading magazines at the time and learning about the World of Outlaws. As I got older and the internet was more available, I can't tell you specifically back then where I saw the results listed or obviously I knew your story as being a ridiculous sprint car fan that I was at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And then that's, I can't give you that exact path, but I followed the results, all the way through high school and college, and honestly never dreamed that I would be in Ohio and able to drive 42 miles from Belleville to something like that, 45 miles from Belleville to Attica, and take my son to the Brad Doty Classic and meet you last year like we did, and then meet Donnie Schatz and Sheldon Haldensfield and talk to Rico and Kyle. And it's a keystone event for me and my son.
Wow, that's awesome. That really is awesome. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that just because we're promoting it. I'm telling you, that's the truth.
It's just funny and ironic how things work out sometimes. It just kind of just makes you wonder.
Mm-hmm. I think this was a couple years ago, but I got my dad to go to your race, and he got there before me as I was running late from work. And he texted me, and he couldn't believe how many cars there were at the race. And I just texted him back. I'm like, it's the freaking Doty, man. Like, people show up for this race.
Wow.
He was astounded that many cars showed up to Attica. He had been to Kings Royal the year before, and he had seen all that, but he was blown away, I think, by the quality cars that showed up. So.
Oh, wow.
Right. And there were 50 sprint cars last year at the Brad Doty Classic on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And that's, my race fan family in Georgia, that blows their mind and I think my dad is going to drive up from Georgia for the Doty this year.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's a huge event. Let's get to the details of it so that we can let everybody know when it is, and where it is. We've mentioned that quite a few times, but, this is the 31st Brad Doty Classic. This is the Ohio Logistics Brad Doty Classic presented by Racing Optics. It'll be happening July 16th at Attica Raceway Park in Attica, Ohio. $10,000 to win on Tuesday night. This is a World of Outlaw event, and you can expect a lot of sprint cars and a lot of sprint car fans to be there.
Yeah, and Kyle Larson's got it. It's on his schedule. I just asked him again last week, and he said, yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten to know his mom and dad pretty well, and saw them. It must have been the Speed Week show that he was at, and they were there and talked to them quite a bit, and of course they look forward to it too. But Kyle's planning on running it. Christopher Bell he's trying to get something lined up. He's not 100% sure that he'll be there, and I've been very, very fortunate throughout the years. 2 years ago we had 58 cars, and last year with that 50, there were 4 or 5 that are regulars or would have been there. Something broke, or it was a fluke deal that they weren't there. But we not only is it quantity, but it's definitely quality of cars. And I've been fortunate that Casey Kane has supported it, as a driver for many, many years. Even when he was in Cup and at his peak time in Cup, he would support the race if he could and come and run it. And I don't know, one of the races last year we got up on the wall and saved it. He's a gasser, especially at Attica. So we I don't know if he'll be healed up or back in the car by then. I haven't talked to him yet, but definitely, if anybody listening, or, you don't have to worry about, the quality of cars. Cause like you said, it's World of Outlaws sanctioned. So you're going to get all the best that the World of Outlaws offer, and the All-Stars are off that night. So all the All-Star cars, All-Star Circuit of Champions cars, and of course, Attica and Fremont's local 410 cars, any one of those guys could pull off a win too. So it's going to be competitive.
We're not going to ask you who you think's going to win it, but if there's somebody to watch, who could be in contention that's, not necessarily one of the typical, I don't like the word typical, but one of the more common winners or World Outlaws. Who would you say the driver to watch, or 2 or 3 drivers to watch this year?
Man, and I really hate to start naming, to do that, but I guess a couple that really pop out, which would be some might call it a major upset, would be Michael Buddy Kofoid, who, is running Neumeister's car with Michael and Steven Linder wrenching on it. He's been very fast, as you guys know, all around, and has been getting around Attica really, really well at 17 years old. So, to see him slip in there would be kind of cool, I guess. Aaron Reitzel, he was leading the All-Star race and got taken out by, lap car spun in front of him. He couldn't avoid it. So, he's been fast there. So, and there's just so many guys that, and that's the beauty of that race, because, other than Donnie Schatz, I mean, we didn't have a repeat winner for many, many years. And then we had a couple guys that had won it twice. And that was it for years and years, then Schatz, typical Donnie Schatz, like the Nationals, he doesn't want to win 1 or 2. He wants to win a dozen, so he's, was first three-peat winner and then first 4-time winner. So obviously you can't count him out, but he has the place figured out. Now they did put some new dirt on it this last fall that I'll admit they've been struggling to get a handle on as far as the dust, but John Borse and Pork Chop, as they call him, the track prep, have been working really, really hard and trying some different stuff in the water and just trying different things with the racetrack. And with all the rainouts early in the year, they didn't get a good chance to really get it, settled in and stuff. So it could throw some of them a curveball that, it's a little bit different racing service than what they're used to. So we'll see how fast Donnie Schatz can adapt to maybe the new Attica.
Definitely historically is an exciting race. And we're looking forward to it again coming up here on July 16th. That is the Brad Doty Classic at Attica Raceway Park. Brad, we really appreciate you taking the time to get on the phone with us.
Well, thank you guys.
It's always great to hear some of the history of the Ohio dirt tracks and sprint car racing in Ohio in general. And we appreciate your insight on from the Hodensfields in the 75 to Twitter today. So thanks for talking to us.
Hey, thank you again. And I do want to say that, we do have reserve seats still available. People can go to Woo. So it's WOO Sprint.com or Attica Raceway Park.com to purchase tickets. Some of the premium or the best area of the reserve seats are sold out, but there's still plenty spread out that they can lock in, or even some that want to buy a general admission ticket ahead of time, so they don't have to stand in line when they get there. But tickets are still available, so I'm looking forward to a beautiful day on July 16th and seeing you guys, and hopefully a whole lot of people in the grandstands.
Yep, I did. I looked a little bit earlier before we got on the phone. There are still reserved seats available in the middle of those grandstands. They're great seats. And the World of Outlaws ticketing website has them there. You can get them to the Attica website, has the link as well. So go get your tickets for the Brad Doty Classic and make sure that you're there on July 16th. That's a Tuesday, and we're going to have beautiful weather, right?
That's right. Got to think positive.
All right, thanks again.
Okay, take care, you guys.
Thanks, Brad.
A great conversation with Brad Doty. It's always good to hear some history and someone who is both a former driver and now a fan and so involved in sprint car racing, not just in Ohio, but across the country. And he does such good work with the Brad Doty Classic, and we're looking forward to that event. So we appreciate Brad getting on the phone with us and doing an interview today. So immediately, though, this is Thursday that you're able to hear this, and Thursday, July 4th is when this will be posted. So, Jacob, what's coming up this weekend starting on